Today's session is all about learning from your peers. The whole series, actually, it's called Behind the Scenes of SaaS Success, is really learning from the experts, industry experts, AWS customers and partners, and get the feedback on what made them successful. But in this one specifically, we are focusing on the experiences our panelists gathered through the years of cloud adoption their companies made. Each went through a different journey, and their cloud adoption started from different baselines, and reasons for adopting cloud may have been different. What is in common to all of them is that in the process they realized the benefits of building their software for the cloud and deploying it in the cloud. It gave them faster time to market, possibility to scale globally, and focus on their core business, which is providing best possible customer experiences to their end customers. Let's look at the agenda for today. Because each journey to SaaS is different and it depends on software builders' stage of cloud adoption, business realities they operate in, like verticals, customer segments, existing customer install base, ability to SaaSify the product, vision of the business, and required time to market, and more. So there are many facets that influence how they go, how they build their SaaS journey. And our panelists come from different backgrounds. Some are cloud native, some made the journey from offering on-prem software to providing SaaS. For this reason, we are using a common framework to bring their stories together. We are loosely following SaaS journey framework that helps software companies plan and execute their SaaS journey. It's divided into 4 stages, and although it looks linear, in reality, it's a process where you can go back and forth between different stages based on your stage of SaaS transformation. So in the business planning phase, you're set the groundwork defining the business realities and your business strategy. In the product strategy part, you really define a clearer picture of how the product will look like, how it will be consumed, and how we expect to target different types of customers. Minimum viable service represents a version of your product that you are willing to test with your customers and iterate on. And the last one is really about building a clear launch and go-to-market strategy to achieve sustainable growth for your SaaS offering. Our CEO, Andy Jassy, says that there is no compression algorithm for experience, but I really hope you'll be able to enhance your learning curve with support expert advice from today's panelists. So let me introduce the panel. But before we do that, I'm Tomaz. I'm a SaaS business lead at AWS team called SaaS Factory, where we support AWS partners and customers to accelerate their business and technology transformation journey to SaaS. I'm excited to introduce you to the panel of experienced software builders and really hope you'll be able to learn valuable lessons today. Jan Griesel, founder and CEO at Plenty Systems. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Jan Griesel. I'm the founder and CEO of Plenty Systems, and we develop plentymarkets, an all-in-one solution for successful e-commerce. Plentymarkets is an e-commerce ERP system that combines stock management, a shop system, and omnichannel solution. And last year, our customers generated more than 7.2 billion euro in revenue via Plentymarkets and the connected sales channels. And every day, more than 50,000 of our customers' employees work with Plentymarkets. And in 2015, we started to migrate to the AWS cloud per lift and shift.
Jan, as many ISVs do, Plenty Systems migrated to the cloud first in a lift and shift model, and that was a while back. And now you're focusing on modernizing your software. Could you share your journey highlights and lowlights and how you overcame them?
Yes, of course, but I want to start at the beginning. So before AWS, we ran our own hardware in a rented data center, and one of our teams was responsible for maintenance and further expansion. And after the decision was made in favor of AWS, it was exactly this team that first took care of the move or the migration to AWS. The focus was therefore on the goal to pressing our existing software and the previous cluster architecture into the AWS cloud. And yeah, this also worked, but from today's perspective, we did not optimally utilize the possibilities of AWS. And immediately after the migration, we left the existing architecture in place and went into a phase of optimization. The focus was on gaining a better overview than before on the load and the status of the individual service in order to optimize the sizing with the result. We spent many months of optimizing the existing architecture before we start to question the way it was used. So we realized later that we couldn't really make a big step forward with further improvements. This led to a rethink and finally to a further development of our organization. And we realized that the team alone, which is responsible for the cloud infrastructure, is not enough to make faster progress. Our goal was to distribute knowledge about the AWS cloud across all development teams, and this wasn't so easy at the first because until then all the developers did not have to worry about how the cloud worked. They couldn't or they could concentrate on making good software and maintaining the software. And some immediately recognized the possibilities, but it took a long time for each team to have at least one developer with deep knowledge of the cloud and, of course, to use it. And the challenge was on several levels. First, the knowledge about the different cloud services had to be imparted, which is or was still quite easy. Then came the experimentation phase. Though the first smaller modules were developed from scratch, different approaches were tried out, so 100% serverless or a combination of cloud services and microservices. But every project was guided by this one team I mentioned before, which managed the cloud infrastructure for us. So we went to the third level. The teams got their own clouds to develop and testing their products and can now have infrastructure deployed automatically through code. So we realized infrastructure as code. This was ultimately the key for us to finally move forward faster and without this bottleneck effects. Today, we have questioned many things and finally started to optimally adapt the architecture of our software to the possibilities of the AWS cloud. That's a very, very long process because ultimately we rebuild our entire product step by step and also publish the new parts. So we are converting our monolith into a microservice-driven architecture. At first, this is an increase of complexity, but it brings us many advantages. We can scale even more selectively and use optimal technologies and services depending on the use cases and so many more. But I think that's enough for the moment.
I mean, doing a transformation that you are talking about is like an open heart surgery, right? It is really tough, and I've seen it. It takes years. I mean, sometimes 3-4 years to do that. So it's completely normal, and it's a tough process. Jan, let's go back a little bit to your function as a CEO and founder. So you have deep insights into financial and operational challenges of the transformation of your business to SaaS, or on that going from migration to modernization, and now, of course, offering a SaaS solution. Could you perhaps share some learnings and insights from that perspective?
Thank you. Oh, yes, there are some learnings. Yeah, of course, there are free trials from AWS, and that also helps us to take the first steps. But we didn't just migrate a simple service or a simple software solution to AWS. We migrated complex software that requires huge amount of server capacity, and it was very difficult for me to get a reliable cost estimate for the operation of the complete infrastructure before the start of the project. So I had a real challenge to be able to plan the budget for this project easily. And in the end, we could not only determine during the migration whether, for example, the dimensions of the individual EC2 instances were correct, whether we needed more I/O capacities and much more. So the migration was a very exciting time for everyone involved. To be honest, we previously operated our server infrastructure very cost efficiently. In our case, the switch to AWS was associated with a significant increase in costs. So we also accepted this because we were not satisfied with the quality of our data center before. And the expansion was simply not flexible enough. So the cost increase was significantly higher than planned at the first step. At the beginning, when we had not yet entered into a long-term contractual commitment with AWS, the monthly costs were around 3 times higher. So of course, that really hurt. So I was very focused on reducing this cost increase in a timely manner, of course. This was also achieved, but in several steps. After we had installed enough measuring points and knew what the optimal server sizing was and many more, we were able to book these instances for 12 months or longer and thus save us a lot of money. We then started to use the first services. So simple services like S3 was one of the first services we built into our application. And then added auto-scaling groups to absorb peak loads and reduce the number of constantly available servers. More optimizations followed, but at some point, it didn't really go any further and we came to the next big strategic decision I mentioned before. The real decision was to migrate our product from a monolith to a microservice-driven architecture. And yeah, this goes hand in hand with very long and high investments. And we have produced this extensive and complex piece of software for many years and have continuously maintained it and expand the functionality. And so, but this decision is much bigger than upgrading to a new version of programming language. This decision means we are developing everything from scratch using completely different technologies and a completely different architecture. So again, we had to spend a lot of energy and time getting our teams on the challenge, and we have gradually expanded our development department by about 40% in the meantime, and it will have to grow further. And yeah, we are financing this entirely through our own income. So this requires quite good budget planning, but so far it was worked well and we are making very good progress with the new development of our product. But of course, it also gives us the opportunity to address a completely new type of customers. And in the past, we only offered our product to small companies, but today we are so flexible that we can also offer plenty markets to medium-sized and large companies without any problems. And we have added a new product in addition to our SaaS editions. We now offer plenty markets a PaaS edition. PaaS, platform as a service. This edition is especially for large companies that do not want to host in a multi-tenant environment. So we had a single tenant, so an own private cloud for them. And that's really nice. And we were therefore able to reach a new target group. And at the end, I have to say that the decisions we've made was the right one.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because it's a completely normal process and everybody goes through that. It's something called the fish model, where once you start really embarking on the transformation journey, the costs go up because you have to invest, and the revenues, if you are embracing SaaS as a business model at the time, revenue goes down. But then what you have achieved, and this is exactly where that fish model is going, is that you are preparing yourself for future growth. And that's SaaS is all about that, preparing yourself to be able to scale to new markets, to new geographies, and embracing new customers as much as possible, or as much as you can actually sell at the end, right? What I would like to do now is for all of you, I mean, you all have a lot of experience from different areas. So I'd like you to give word of advice to our listeners. And so I was thinking more along the lines, what would you tell yourself, your younger self, when you were, embarking on a journey, or, somebody who is at that starting point or somewhere in the middle of the SaaS journey? What advice could you give them? Jan, what about your thoughts?
I think I would like to summarize again the most important points for us. So the key factors for us or for our cloud journey was to provide our development teams with knowledge about the cloud, empower them by, as Fabio mentioned, infrastructure as code, and to formulate the clear requirements to build a software that really fits optimally into the AWS cloud. And that's it. Maybe one sentence. Please try to reach the enterprise support level, because then you will really get even more great help from AWS. Thanks to your colleagues. It's great to work with you, and yeah, they really helps us to move forward faster. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And so I think we've learned a lot today. I've learned a lot today. So it's great advice that you all gave. So what I would like to do is just wrap up this webinar with a few key takeaways. And the first one, I think it was quite clear across the board, is that business and technology need to work together. There is no other way how SaaS can be successful if that doesn't work well together. We talked about the journeys, the mapping of journeys, the how to prepare for building the infrastructure, how to scale, how to go to market. So all of this is connected. The second one is that we can help as AWS, we can help on your SaaS journey. We have the partner network that has many programs. We have other teams that can support you. And I believe that was quite well stated by the participants today, that they got a lot of help from our side. And the third one is I come from a team called SaaS Factory, as I said, and we publish a lot of SaaS related content. So and you will get that link in the follow-on email. But SaaS Factory Insights Hub has all of those resources that you can use, and they can help you on the journey. And of course, you can also learn more about SaaS Factory there. So I'd like to thank all of you for participating today and really sharing your insights. And I really hope that everybody listening will gain something from it and build a better business or better SaaS business in the future. So thank you very much.